It's 16. Ever wonder what happened if you crossed? What do you get when you take Naruto's more serious ninja elements and mix them together with a Romeo and Juliet war-torn lovers story? Well, if you watch the anime, the 2005 anime series Basilisk, you'll find out. Because I'm about to review it. It centers around the two clans of ninja, the Kouga of Manjidani and the Ego of Subagakure, in the late 16th to early 17th century of Japan during the Tokugawa shogunate. Tokugawa Ieyasu has retired, and his son Tokugawa Hidemata is having a tough time deciding his house is starting to go into a civil war with which of his sons should be the rightful heir to the shogunate, either his oldest son Takachiyo or his younger son Kurochiyo. To settle the debate, Ieyasu and his advisors decide to throw a no hostilities pact between the Kouga and Iga, established by the original Hattori Hanzo, out the window, and would force both clans into a 10-on-10 war. Both sides are given a scroll, each with 10 names for each clan. We have 10 ninja. The Iga will represent Takachiyo, the Kouga represent Kurochiyo. Last clan standing, in the grandson they represent will be the leader, will become the new shogun, and the clan in question gets 1,000 years of favor. But this couldn't have come at a worse time, specifically for the young heirs of each clan, Obro the Iga and Genosuke of the Kouga. Excuse me. As they had been in an arranged marriage when they were children, but now with the pact out the window, they're forced into a situation neither one of them wanted. How will this end for these two young forlorn and war-torn lovers? I don't know. But either way, the bloods of countless ninja will be shed needlessly. Okay, positive why, in terms of production values, Gonzo did a pretty good job. CG is kept to a minimum. The art style is pretty good. The character models, though, can be hit and miss in terms of how good they look. I mean, they do add, physically, there is a bit of variety in their physiques and in terms of their ninja abilities. But some of the guys can be a bit... But while the women remain as the traditional geisha, the guys can be a bit... Ugh. Like, take, for example, Jubei of the Kouga. He's a little more than a living torso. Oh. But his ninja techniques are threefold. One, he has a spike on the end of his tail that lets him deflect enemy attacks. Two, he can maneuver on the ground very quickly because of some plates that have been sewn onto his tunic, that if he contracts his chest muscles, he can move through the ground like a worm. And three, he's trained his esophagus so well over the years that he even keeps a dagger hidden in his throat. Then for the Iga, there's Jingoro, who I call a living salt mine. And By that I mean that because of his demeanor, basically, if he gets any fresh water removed from him and from his body, he'll dissolve into a mass of slimy slug like mucus or whatever. I don't know what it is. But basically, he can only retain his physical shape with a heavy amount of fresh water. Throw him in salt water and it kills him. Then there's Nenki of the Iga, who's pretty much a living reincarnate of the Monkey King of Chinese myth, because of all the hair that covers his body, which he can manipulate how sharp or how dense it can be. Heck, he even kills Akoi the Kouga, who's a blood-sucking seductress, and no, I'm not kidding. Make physical contact with her, and her skin will become an adhesive on your body. And then when she gets a good bite on you, she'll suck up your blood. Other unique powers include Rosai's limbs being able to stretch to untold lengths, Josuke's ability to inflate himself like a balloon, and his body has the consistency of rubber, Kazamachi's spider-like abilities to scale up walls and shoot a phlegm that's 100 times stickier than glue, Hotarubi's ability to distract with butterflies, allowing her viper to inject its poison into her enemies. Yobu, who's capable of merging himself with any solid surface, but the catch is he can only do it when he's naked. Very useful for assassination. Kisaragi Simon, who can imitate a person's appearance down to their voice. As soon as he makes a mold of that person's face. Of course, he can't steal any of their ninja techniques, which is a bit of a shame for him. Hyoma and Genosuke have the same ability, which is basically make eye contact with them, and any homicidal intent you throw at them is bounced back at you, and you end up killing yourself. The difference is that with Hyoma, he has to keep his eyes closed all the time, unless Genosuke gives him the okay. Because his dojutsu is active constantly. Then there's Kagero's poisonous breath, but this only activates whenever she's aroused sexually. Obero's mystic eye, which enables her to take away a ninja's techniques temporarily. Koshiro's wind vacuum ball thingy, where he takes in a suck of bit of air like this, and it can cut through a person's body instantly. Then you have Akigenyu, whose blood can either be used as piercing weapons or as a tag, or as a means to tag individuals so that you could find them. And then there's Tenzin, who, I'm not going to spoil what he's capable of, okay? But basically, he serves as the antagonist to the series. As you think he's dead right out of the gate, but then he pops back up and keeps I mean, he gets killed by at least 3 or 4 members of the Kouga clan, only to come right back to life before getting what he deserves. If you've read the manga or the anime, or seen the anime, they'll explain a little bit better. Trust me. Oh yeah. And then there's Yashimaru's Black Thread, which can cut through anything, but it's only useful if he hits his target. Talk about a double-edged technique. So anyway, out of the gate, Iga intercept the Kouga and start picking them off one by one until the Kouga catch wind of it. Then they go on the attack. Then by episode 10 or 12, we get a recap episode. And episode 16 serves as a flashback, so that's all the filler I can think of. If there was any weak spots to this show, it was the storytelling. Basically because of the plot being so predictable and bland. War-torn lovers, Romeo x Juliet-esque. There you go. If anything, I get they're trying to recapture the spirits of the novel and the manga, but it does more with gets more of the spirit of the latter than it does with the former. Musically, it's pretty much within its own time frame, except for the opening and ending themes. I personally prefer the opening theme, Kouga Ninpocho by Onmyoza, which is very well done, even if it's a little out of place. Voice acting wise, props, in my opinion, go to, in the Japanese dub, Sho Hayami, who plays Tenzin. And for the English dub, I'd say Troy Baker as Genosuke. Both do a good job at showing each of their characters' personalities. While the manga didn't really develop most of the side cast, the anime does a good bit of it, showing the development for characters like Simon, Koshiro, and Genosuke, and even shows a bit of backstory for Simon, Akoi, Yashimaru, Hotarubi, and Gyobu, as well as a bit for Gonzo and Ogen. It was never shown what their techniques were. As they got killed right at the end of the first as they ended up killing each other at the end of the first episode. But in any event, it was a very decent show. It was a pretty good show, and while I wouldn't give it a perfect score due to some notable flaws, like some levels of fan service ranging from this obligatory shower scene to at least 3 attempts at rape, 2 of which were on the female protagonist, Obero. And 1 session of torture. But for better or worse, I like this show, and I'll give it 4 out of 5, 8 out of 10. I'm out here. Peace.